you everyone for joining today's session, Accelerating Your Digital Workplace Strategy, Putting Employees at the Center. My name is Janine Markey. I'm the Director of Marketing at Workgrid Software, and I look forward to speaking with you all today. With the current shift to remote and distributed work, we're all under pressure to be more agile and better prepared for unexpected changes in the workplace. Understanding how technology can support and accelerate your digital workplace journey to deliver optimal digital experiences to your employees has moved from important to vital. And that's why I'm here today. And that's going to be the focus of our session. Creating a digital workplace that puts employees' needs in the center. We all know that's easier said than done. So what we've done is gone through some of the top questions we've gotten here at Workgrid and pulled together tips to address those questions, not only from our own experience, but also from our customers. From who should own the initiative to how to set up your digital workplace from an architectural design that is modern enough to meet the requirements of today, yet flexible enough to meet the unknown requirements of tomorrow. We'll go through these tips and showcase customer examples that are leveraging these tips and techniques. Before we jump into the agenda, I did want to quickly introduce you all to Workgrid Software. If you're not familiar, for those of you who may not be familiar, at Workgrid, our belief is that employees are happiest, fulfilled, and most engaged when focusing on work that matters. Today's digital workplace experience, though, is creating significant inefficiencies and employee disengagement. It's all taking away from our employees' potential and what you hired them to do. At Workgrid, we're focused on solving for this. Our mission is to make work simpler, more efficient, and engaging. We do this through our digital platform, which enables organizations to create experience centered around the employee and their needs. For the employee, they are empowered with a digital assistant that integrates across all the disparate systems in the enterprise to deliver personalized and contextual information to each employee based on what's important to them in a modern and unified experience, all while increasing their ability to focus on the high-value work that results in an engaging and fulfilling employee experience. And Workgrid Software was actually born out of the enterprise. What started as an internal initiative at Liberty Mutual Insurance in 2013 to transform the digital experience of their 50,000 global employees, providing their employees a best-in-class digital workplace where employees' interactions were as personalized, relevant, and intuitive at work as in our everyday lives, was so successful internally that a new company was formed, Workgrid Software, to offer this same platform to other enterprises outside of the walls of Liberty Mutual. Let's get started with the presentation. It's no denying how important employee experience is to the success of your organization. I think we've all seen that employee experience has become one of the highest priority initiatives over the last few years, and it's really creating a dramatic shift in the market across all lines of business. And I think with the current situation with COVID-19, this has only accelerated that trend, with most organizations transitioning to remote work virtually overnight, many of them moving towards making that a permanent part of their business strategy. Now, I think some could argue that the digital workplace has always been about the employee experience, or that was the intention, right? This is a great graphic from Digital Workplace Group from their State of Digital Workplace report. And you know, what you can see here in the graphic and what some of you may be thinking about your own digital workplace is the intentions has always been about providing an environment where you as an organization are enabling and supporting your employees. You're providing the necessary tools that deliver the content, communications, applications, knowledge, and collaboration employees need to do their job. So what is different? What has happened over the years is different departments have released new tools to help support employees, but the technology we're leveraging in our digital workplace to optimize the employee experience is often built with the software buyer in mind, or the power user, or sometimes the company in mind. Oftentimes, it's not the actual experience of the employee that the software is focused on. So naturally, each department supports the employee experience in a different manner, working towards and yielding different outcomes. And what ends up happening is, as they work in silos, meeting their own goals and needs to provide employees with more positive, efficient touch points throughout the employee life cycle. As we organizations are continuing to invest in our digital workplace, we're adding more technology to our ecosystem, and it's done in that siloed manner. Not intentionally, but you have HR rolling out solutions for HR-related functions, finance rolling out new software for finance-related functions, and so on across the different business functions, resulting in a Frankenstein-like disjointed experience for the employee. And many times when we do invest in these systems, it's back-end changes that are made, and the employees again are left with a poor front-end experience. So how do we put employees in the center and effectively deliver an optimal digital experience for our employees? A new mindset is required, and that's what I want to jump into now. Let's walk through 3 important tips for how to get started. I want to discuss who should own the employee experience, how to effectively put employees at the center, and how to get started so you can immediately start maximizing value in your organization. Getting the ownership right. We hear this one a lot, and I have heard many different things from many different prospects and customers in regards to who owns the employee experience. Many times it's actually sometimes not known. Is it the C-suite? Is it HR? Seems to be up for grabs many times. Employee experience is certainly a team sport, and is not something one department can or should manage with a singular focus. And you may have heard the concept previously about it being a team sport. Maybe you've heard of different highly profiled analysts and industry experts using a soccer analogy, and about bringing the right teams together, maybe forming a steering committee. And in theory, this is all a good idea, but I'm going to actually challenge you to think more broadly. Just bringing the right teams or stakeholders together, every team will still go off and solve for their own departmental problems using that siloed approach we talked about. HR, again, might start looking at employee experience from the lens of, we want to revamp the onboarding process. Rightfully so. It's one of the first opportunities that a business has to create a positive interaction with employees. IT might decide to focus on rolling out a chatbot for its service center, and maybe finance is rolling out a new mobile expense tool to make submitting expenses easier. And again, historically, finding a dedicated technology to meet all of those 3 or 4 goals would have been impossible. So you'd have each department solving for their individual goals. So ideally, you want to focus on a formal ownership. You're still going to have multiple stakeholders and maybe even a steering committee, but the formal ownership, whether it's an individual such as an employee experience officer, or maybe it's a product owner, would work directly with those right stakeholders, and they would work directly with employees and the other teams across the enterprise, ensuring that the employee experience and your digital workplace vision is delivered and represented equally across all those groups. Having formal ownership will be crucial to have someone or a team own the roadmap, understand each stakeholder's priorities, understand employees' needs, collect user feedback. Without that formal ownership to provide the strategic vision, each stakeholder will pursue their own individual paths. You wouldn't expect internal comms, for instance, if they were owning employee experience, to understand the needs of IT. And let's say their budget constraints hit. Which initiative would be cut? Would it be the IT one or the internal comms one if comms is owning it? The ownership team becomes the glue that binds together the separate parts of the employee experience. And so it really is important to give it consideration and get it right. Understanding the employees. That's probably one of the most important parts of your strategy and planning, is really understanding your employees so that you can understand where is their opportunities to improve the experience and what we like to call moments of truth. The first thing that you'll want to do is map out the employee journey. The employee journey is the time an employee spends at a company, starting from when the employee applies to your organization and ending when the employee quits. All that time in between those 2 moments is what we call the employee journey. And now some advice when doing the employee journey is you want to think broadly about the journey as well. If you did a Google search on employee life cycle or employee journey, this image here is probably the most common image that you would see pop up. And so you need to think beyond the traditional employee journey. And it's always something maybe that's been led by HR, but if you're thinking about employee journey from this point of view, I'm telling you, you're missing a huge opportunity. Don't get me wrong, HR-led processes certainly shape the employee experience and should be included in part of your journey or your employee experience strategy. But think about something like employees' daily work experience is just as critically important as some of those HR-led processes, right? If an employee comes to work every day and it doesn't have the ability to succeed at their job, your employee will not be engaged, and they certainly will not have a meaningful employee experience. And meaning really is, the new form of currency at work. The latest studies show that 9 out of 10 employees, they're actually willing to earn less money to have a more meaningful experience at work. So you'll want to look at what is their day-to-day process. What are those other moments at work that matter? We all remember the first day of work, but we might not always remember the second day. And so not every matter is the same for all of your personas and what matters to them. So you need to look for those critical moments of truth. What do employees struggle with? What are their aspirations? What motivates them? And something to make sure you consider as well, which again isn't something that needs to be just managed by HR, is focusing on the human aspects too. Throughout different moments that matter, there are many emotions felt by your employees. Consider onboarding. It's a great example. Employees may feel anxious or confused by the expectations of them. It's important to understand how your employees feel today throughout these processes and how you actually want them to feel, and make sure that you're delivering experiences to either match how you want them to feel or improve how they're feeling today. And I think as we look at the remote workforce, this can be a challenge where you might not be able to pick up on certain visual cues that you would in person, right? So you have to make sure we're carefully designing experiences that support the new reality of the digital workplace. And this is where feedback's going to come into play to make sure that you really understand the emotions of your employees and the sentiment throughout the way. Building out your personas is going to be really important. And again, not something, I know we have probably some IT folks in the room. It's not just an HR-led initiative. You're not going to have one set of personas for all of your initiatives that you're looking to improve. So in order to effectively engage and understand your employees' needs and provide them the technology, you need to understand your personas. This example here on the screen is actually an example of personas that we put together with our customer, Liberty Mutual. We were looking at the user journey of improving technology throughout their day-to-day experience at work. And so we started with 6 digital personas: customer-facing call center rep, a customer-facing field rep, an office professional that was stationary, an office professional that roamed, a manager, and a new employee. These were all 6 different personas that we felt throughout the day had different experiences and needed different types of technology or different ways to access information throughout the day. And again, it's important to understand that you might have a few sets of personas for different types of experiences. So maybe this is something you're using for looking at different types of employees throughout the day, but what you use for talent recruitment, that probably might look a little bit different. For each persona, we then built out persona profiles. These are important because you want to include each persona's goals and relevant information related to the process you're trying to improve or the journey you're mapping out. For this use case here, which was around the workday, we wanted to make sure we also included the tools that employees use to support them with their job. Once you've gone through the employee journey and you've defined those moments that matter, you want to dive into each one of those, almost using the same process. So most of you probably are familiar with this process as a user study. So what we're doing is we're diving in and we really want to learn what the process looks like today and how to best improve the experience. And you want to get as close to understanding the employee as possible. Don't just ask the employee, what were the steps you went through to complete that task? Sit down with them, shadow them, and look at what they are using, how they are using it, and observe what their feelings are while they're doing it so you can understand the sentiment. For the Liberty Mutual example that I mentioned previously, you can see here that we have a journey map that starts at the beginning of the day and it follows the employee until they're at home. going through the steps and observing what are their feelings throughout their day, throughout different, how we've divided up the day. And you can see we looked at a couple of different job roles within the one persona. Again, looking for those moments of truth. How could we improve the employee's day? Of course, learning and adjusting doesn't stop. It's critical to create real-time feedback loops to get feedback and sentiment from your employee. They'll tell you exactly what they want, so ask them. And then make sure you follow up with them on any actions you're going to take to address their feedback so they know that their input was heard and valued. So we've gone through the employee journey and we've found those moments that matter. And one of the questions we always get from our customers is, now where should I start? I've found multiple, experiences we want to improve. Where can we get quick time to value, and how do we maximize the value from the beginning so we can quickly engage with our employees? So some advice here is don't boil the ocean. Starting small with incremental deliveries and capturing feedback from employees every step of the way is going to be really important. Employees, if you say you're going to be working on some initiatives around improving the employee experience, employees are going to want to see action taken right away. So look at some of those use cases that are maybe high volume or high emotion. If you're in IT, what are those moments that, although maybe seem really small, they might be really frustrating for your employees? Find out from surveys and ask questions. Simply ask your employees, what is the most frustrating part of your job? You think about something like IT. In IT, a lot of times employees they're frustrated, right? They're trying to do something and they need help, and now they have to either phone IT or fill out a support ticket. If that process isn't streamlined and smooth, or it's a poor experience for the employee, if you can improve that and now you've solved their problem, that has an emotional attachment to it. High volume choices are good choices as well because of the amount of value the change will deliver to employees once implemented. And what is key as well is you want to take a bottoms-up approach. So going back to the surveys, find out from employees what they want to see, where they want to see it, and what frequency. And any experiences that you're redesigning, make sure you include them, not only through feedback, but have them help design the process. Show them prototypes. Help them reimagine what the experience should be, not what is possible, but what would be the art of possible. Sometimes it's the small things that you'd never think of if you took a top-down approach. And so we all know a digital workplace demands modern technology and flexible delivery approaches to create compelling employee experience. Next, I want to walk through a few architectural principles that will be important to consider and leverage to not only solve your immediate digital workplace goals, but grow with your business in the future. Employee-focused experiences. We talked about technology often being built with the buyer in mind, or the power user, right? And so what happens is, and this is often one of the biggest challenges we face, and it puts the software buyer in a challenging situation in terms of who should get the better experience when you're trying to solve for your own needs. How do you actually put the employee at the center while also supporting your organizational and department needs? So some great examples where we see this all the time is if you think about your ITSM or HCM software, or even something maybe like your learning management or performance management software. These are robust systems. They were chosen because they're best in their class with the widest array of powerful functionality, but the chances are that the experience they deliver to the employee, or the majority of your employees, might be poor. And, it's the fact that you simply cannot deliver an effective employee experience with a solution that takes a one-size-fits-all approach. And that's just how a lot of software is built today. It's built with a one-size-fits-all approach, and it's designed to meet the needs of multiple companies ranging from different sizes. And so what we need to do when we're thinking about designing our digital workplace is we need to take a holistic approach. Employees don't care about what system a transaction is in. They just want to get things done and get back to their main job, their main focus. And so it's going to be important to think broadly, again, from the employee's point of view. What does the employee want to see, And where do they go to perform tasks and find information relevant to their jobs? What are the devices that they use, and where do they need to find that information? And when is it most important for them to find that information? Our belief at Workgrid is an experience layer approach, where you can achieve delivering experiences that are 100% focused on the employee by separating the user experience from your source systems. Again, the user experience is completely separate, offering you the flexibility and control to design the experiences for the employee based on what works best for the employee, all while keeping your best-of-breed technology that is designed for the power user or the software buyer. Because those systems have their purpose, but the experience layer will allow you to answer what is really important to the employee. So now if you look at it from the employee being at the center of the experience, what do they care about? What are those alerts that they need? What are those important services and forms they need to access, or reminders or tasks they need to complete from all those systems? And again, because you're keeping your best-of-breed technology, those back-end systems that run your business, you really do get the best of both worlds. You really can have your cake and eating it too. So you no longer have that battle of who gets the better experience. And so what would an experience layer look like in practice for an employee? And this is really an employee experience layer, or digital experience layer, is really leveraging a microservices approach. This is an example that we've done with Liberty Mutual as well as a few other of our customers, where what you're seeing here is on the right is the employee view. So the employee is seeing information being pulled from multiple systems, all into a single experience. So we have profile information, which is being pulled in from an HR system. We have a app called Time Planner, which is a planning system. People Search, that data is being pulled from maybe an Active Directory. You have a payroll system. You have an IT asset management system and a workforce management system. These are all separate systems, and they're pulling in information to the employee. And the employee, on the other hand, is being abstracted from any and all back-end complexity and all that institutional knowledge that usually burdens employees. Employees now don't have to go across multiple systems and email to track alerts and receive communications and notification. Instead, employees have access to a single, streamlined experience, everything they need to know and do front and center, and what's important to them, such as their time off balance or payroll information. One of the common problems we hear from customers is their employees are frustrated with poorly designed systems, where they have to update the same information across multiple systems or use multiple systems to perform a single and what seems like should be a simple task, which is totally opposite from our consumer lives. We'd never continue to do business with a company if they made us jump through hoops to order something. Imagine having to buy a pair of sneakers and having to go to one website to pick out your sneakers, another website to submit your payment, and then confirm everything via phone call. I don't know about you, but you couldn't pay me to do that. But at work, we actually pay our employees to jump through those hoops to get simple but necessary tasks completed sometimes. And so what I want to talk about next is this concept at Workgrid, what we call outcome-driven design. And this idea where to deliver engaging and intelligent employee experiences, we should focus on the employee's intent. And again, this is what we're used to in our personal lives. Google is a great example of this, right? If you were to do a Google search for a restaurant, Google doesn't give you the definition of a restaurant. It gives you a listing of nearby restaurants, along with other relevant information that it's pulling from websites as well as third parties. It's not data being presented that Google is storing. So these are things like the restaurant's phone number, their menu, reviews, directions. You can actually make a reservation using a source like OpenTable. And this is all based on the fact that Google is anticipating that your intent for searching for a restaurant is that you probably want to find a nearby restaurant to go to or to order from. So let's look at it in a simple example in the enterprise, booking time off, taking a vacation. So you have an employee who wants to go on vacation, right? Their ultimate goal is they want to go and relax on the beach for a week. So there might be a series of things they need to do beforehand. update the HR system to take time off, communicate with their team maybe on Slack, update Outlook and set an out of the office reminder, update their calendar so no one books a meeting with them, and then maybe whatever else that might be necessary for that employee. And so what we do instead is we try to find and put the focus on their outcome. If they want to go on vacation and they need to submit time off, how can we get this down to fewer steps? Why not have some of these systems talk to each other versus having the employee have to click through multiple systems? And so that's what we've done. We've built the ability to create these streamlined experiences through workflows where we essentially are giving the employee one experience, and the employee can fill out that they want to take that time off, block their calendar, create their out of the office reminder, which then on the day that you're taking off will trigger your out of the office reminder, all in one experience. So again, you're abstracting the employee from all the complexity, and it really gets down to that one thing they need to do. And so as we're looking at different journeys with our customers and what they're looking to improve, this is where understanding your personas and conducting those user studies becomes so important, so you can look at not just how to improve the process, but really look at how to streamline it and make it simpler for employees. Future-proofing your digital experience. So there's a lot you have to consider when you're choosing technology solutions to really create a foundation that can grow with your organization. So you want to make sure that you're choosing something that is open and extensible, is flexible and easy to integrate with, can support multi-channel and multi-experience delivery, and can really help you modernize your legacy systems. And now you might be thinking, and we hear this from our prospects and customers frequently, that they're just going to build new employee experiences and the foundation into an existing system, maybe like your ITSM or your HCM solution. But I'm actually going to advise you to think carefully when coupling services together, when choosing your digital workplace applications. It's going to be important when you're looking at your employee experience to really have it independent from your systems of record. And, maybe if you did try to build employee experience into your HR tool, you'd probably get so far. And then it might start to break down where you get stuck, and maybe you can't integrate all the options that you want to integrate, or you have to wait for that HR tool to invest in their roadmap to meet your needs. And let's say you decide to replace your HR solution in 5 years, you'd have to entirely rewrite, your employee experience. And you might be thinking, well, today you've chosen best-of-breed solutions, but tomorrow we don't know what the offerings will be. Most organizations, we're not keeping, software for as many years as we used to, right? With the rapid changes that are happening in the software industry and acquisitions and mergers, you really just can't predict the future of what's going to happen. And so if you did decide to switch out one of those systems, you wouldn't also lose all that work that you've done. Also seen many companies trying to combine their IT service delivery maybe with their HR service delivery. Maybe in the beginning the software you choose can meet both needs, but what happens, when all of a sudden that solution provider is no longer supporting HR as much as IT? Now you're kind of in a sticky situation. So by keeping everything composable will really allow you to future-proof your design. As new touch points become important to your employees, you can adapt, and if you need to change applications in your portfolio, you can easily swap them because you've separated the user experience from the back-end service. You want to be looking at multi-channel and multi-experience delivery, building on an open platform that can really customize to support your needs. So this platform needs to be flexible to handle both multi-channel and multi-experience, regardless of the interface. Really meeting employees where they work. Going back to our personas, look at the different types of employees and understand what their preferences and needs are for delivery touch points. You can really succeed here if you establish a strong foundation that allows you to continue to build on supporting whatever new ways and touch points, content and data that is being consumed, whether it's mobile, hands-free, voice. Take these services now and identify the various consumption touch points and deliver those where employees want to consume them. And again, what we have today might not be how we want to consume them in a few years from now. So having that flexibility is going to be important. So now I want to take a look and actually walk through some customer examples of where we've leveraged some of these tips and techniques. The first example I want to share is a Fortune 200 consumer good company. They were focusing their digital transformation efforts on the customer experience. And so they were looking to really create the best experience possible for their customers. And so while many organizations may have been tempted to start with the customer experience, this consumer goods company knew starting with the employee experience would be key to achieving their goals. By arming their field sales team, so their field reps, the ones that are actually with the customers on a frequent basis, with the right experiences to service the customer based on the customer's needs. And so the first step was to understand the persona. So the persona was the field rep. And this is oversimplified for illustration purposes. So we wanted to conduct a user study to really understand the day-to-day process of working, of how the field rep worked with the customer and how they would go about servicing the customer's needs. And so what we found was the employee starts their day off in the office at a workstation, getting ready for their meetings and who they're going to meet with for the day. And that process required the reps to access multiple systems of record to research any business condition changes, product and pricing changes that may have impacted their accounts. And so they were jumping across multiple systems. And then the reps were actually using an outdated method of printing any documentation. They had to print pricing sheets and SKU sheets, and they were actually hand carrying these on site to meet with the customer. As you can imagine, this practice caused various miscommunication and inefficiencies as things changed or paperwork got misplaced or destroyed. And so what they did is they involved employees in the process to really understand the employee's needs and to redesign the process. And so what they took a look at is, what if the employee could start their day, could start their day and have a digital experience where everything that they needed to access from any device was together, and it didn't require them to actually print out anything, and it was personalized as well to each rep. And so with Workgrid, we were able to integrate with all those multiple applications that they were usually accessing in the morning to find out about price changes and sales KPIs and different product updates, and put that information in the hand of the frontline worker. So let's take a look here. And so Workgrid was able to empower the frontline workers access to alerts on key product information that again were crucial to the customer. And these alerts were tailored to the respective accounts. So the field reps were only seeing information that was relevant to them. And leveraging the flexibility and extensibility nature of Workgrid, a custom-built app was also built to provide sales performance and analytics data via an integration with SAP. The views of information within this app was also personalized, so the sales reps could drill down and configure what was relevant to the employee, such as their business unit or channel. And so what we can see with this case study is it really highlights the ability to transform a poor experience that is focused on the employee and putting their needs front and center. We didn't just take the what was the paper-based solution and clone it and make a digitized solution. What we did is we really looked at the employee's needs, and so we figured out how could we present each rep only with data that was important to them. And this is all about accessing the data you have on your employees. So this customer obviously has a customer data management system, and the systems know what accounts each rep owns and which product updates and pricing SKU changes would then bubble up to those reps. And so the business was able to extend the investments of all their legacy systems that are the core to their business. And it would have been extremely costly and timely to invest to replace all those systems. And so it really was that experience layer approach, setting themselves up for future success. So rather than purchasing multiple pointed solutions or a solution that maybe could just deliver notifications via a mobile device, the organization wanted a flexible and intelligent system that could be customized to the evolving business operations of the sales team and other teams as they look to improve digital experiences across other functional areas of the business. The field reps are just the starting point, and that's what's great about this example is they started with the persona closest to the customer, but they now have a platform that they can extend and build on and provide the same level of experiences to other types of personas within the organization, but deliver them experiences that are customized and personalized to them. And so I shared today the mobile version of the solution, but they also learned throughout their user studies that employees were frequently leveraging a SharePoint site that was catered to sales KPIs and business management information. And so Workgrid is also being delivered as a toolbar directly within this SharePoint site to provide employees a single hub to sales information and updates. So again, a multi-experience delivery that focuses on aligning the right information and touch points delivered via the right channel. So rather than just providing the sales reps a mobile solution, we were also able to provide that same information alongside that SharePoint site. So regardless if they're on the road or if they're back in the office or at home, looking at the different metrics and KPIs, they have those alerts and the information they need when they need it. The second example that I want to share is a Fortune 100 technology company that was facing various challenges with talent retainment in a highly competitive environment. They employ a lot of technology employees, and so they wanted to focus on delivering a more modern experience to their employees. And there were various applications and workflows that they were actually looking to modernize. So they really had to look at where to start and how can we get quick time to value for our employees and maximize that value. And so they conducted surveys and obtained feedback, and they learned that one of the experiences employees were frustrated by was the current IT support delivery that they had internally. And it was actually a really poor experience for both the employee and their IT support staff. So again, this was looking at two different sets of personas. For the end employee, they were frustrated with the multiple steps, and it was a confusing process to submit tickets. And it was actually resulting in a lot of mistakes. A lot of the tickets had mistakes that were coming through. And on the flip side, for the IT support employees, they had a really poor perception. Employees had a poor perception of them, their IT department, and they weren't the most highly engaged employees when you looked at engagement rates across different personas. They were burdened with repetitive requests and not having the ability to focus on more strategic initiatives. And so their engagement numbers were really low. And so using Workgrid, a custom micro app was built to modernize their ITSM, which was Remedy, to allow employees to seamlessly access the corporate IT service catalog from the company's. It was delivered via a mobile device, but we actually also integrated right onto the company's internet portal to make requests without having to log into the IT service catalog. The custom Remedy app leverages an easy-to-use modern UX, as you can see, that focuses on the employee's intent. It insulates the worker from the complexity by only presenting the employee with options relevant to their specific IT service catalog requests. So rather than the employee having to log in and being presented with various different options, it's just presenting them with the catalog request. What are those top things that we want to give employees access to do? How can we present it in a simple and easy to use format? And again, that was completed all without having to replace their ITSM system. And, that was really important because the company was looking at how do we improve the digital experience for employees, and they didn't want to embark on a large-scale solution replacement, but rather find a solution that would deliver an enhanced experience across applications that either had a poor UX or maybe had multi-layer workflows and was complex. So similar to the previous example, really looking at what Workgrid calls outcome-driven design to really simplify the process and focus on the employee's outcome, hiding all the back-end system complexities, bringing the employee the right use case that would be relevant to them. And the company is leveraging Workgrid to simplify other interactions across the enterprise as well. And so by choosing to build this micro app as a pilot to their employees, they chose to start with a quick win, right? One of those ones that had high emotion where the employee might be really frustrated. Now you're giving them a simple process to get through it quickly and get the answers they need. The third case study that I want to share is a global financial bank, and we were working with them to improve their onboarding process that was resulting in a poor experience for the employee. And it was also resulting in a poor experience for the managers, and other stakeholders were frustrated by the onboarding process as well. So again, looking at multiple personas. The company also found through research that there was a real missed opportunity in their current onboarding process where from the time the employee signed the offer letter to the time they actually had their first day on the job, there was a real opportunity to start engaging with that employee early, but they knew there was a lot of complications to, actually engage with an employee before their first day of work. So they really wanted to look at an interactive way they could start engaging with employees. And so we took a look at the current process and broke it down. What did it look like for different personas across the organization? And what they found was for employees, it was challenging to learn how to access many new systems, manage a multitude of tasks, and onboarding really by definition usually is an experience that is disjointed because you have employees that are receiving tasks and communications from HR and maybe security and IT, and then you have different trainings from the manager and so on. So you kind of a lot of times have all these tasks piling up, and a lot of times the systems too that you're accessing, it might be a system that you learn once and then you never have to log into it again. So you kind of just have this cognitive overload of learning everything so much at once. And so we worked with the customer to design an onboarding process that was modern and unified for the employee, that could bring together task and workflow from across multiple systems and departments. And we wanted to make sure that it was also easy for managers and other departments to be able to deliver those tasks and those communications without IT assistance. We didn't want to have any bottlenecks or burdens now on our IT department to be able to manage that for the stakeholders that are part of the onboarding process. And so let me share an example here. So what you can see here in this example is we created an experience where employees can view all tasks assigned to them and actually take action on those tasks as well without having to access or log into the core system. So you're seeing an example of a parking pass form here. And so the experience simply presents the information to employee and again abstracts them away from the complexity of all those back-end systems or switching between systems. Information and tasks can also be personalized by persona or any other attribute that we know about the employee. Maybe something like your office location. So if you wanted to send an employee a campus map or something that was relevant to them, you can have that information presented directly to the employee versus sending them to a SharePoint site or your internet site that has multiple maps and now they have to dig through it to find the location for them. Or, I know with new employees, there's all that institutional knowledge that you don't know what you don't know. And for us seasoned employees, it's hard to remember that the new employee, the system you just ask them to complete is going to ask them for information or different, and it's going to be broken down into acronyms that maybe they haven't learned yet, right? And, you think about that type of experience. If you're remote today and you're onboarding employees, how frustrating that could be where a new employee is trying to fill out a form to request something, and it's asking them a question, and they have to now basically interrupt someone with what might seem like a silly question to ask, what's our business unit? I don't know what all these acronyms are, right? And so we really wanted to make sure, put the employee at the center and what was the experience like for them. And on the back end, though, Workgrid is providing an easy-to-use workflow builder that is editable by any department, again, such as communications, HR, security, and without IT needing to configure those workflows for those stakeholders. So it really is looking at taking a holistic approach, leveraging that experience layer where multiple systems and processes are being delivered into one unified experience. And because it's this experience layer approach, we were able to start with what are the most important parts of the onboarding process. Let's get those in, and now we can have that continuous delivery where as the company continues to add systems and trainings as needed, we can add those in for the employee, and those stakeholders can do it themselves, so they don't have to come back to Workgrid necessarily to add in, I want to add in a task or a new training video or swap out a training video that was created. So it's really putting the power of the solution in the hands of the customer. And it's multi-channel delivery. So we talked about that gap where there's that missed opportunity for engagement. So now, after the employee signs the offer letter, they get access to a friendly interactive mobile app. Maybe we're sharing with them a video from the CEO and locations where that new employee can learn about their team members. So really kind of building on your engagement and your culture aspects. And then when the employee starts the day and they receive their laptop, you can offer them the onboarding experience to manage all their tasks through a desktop or a browser application. So again, that multi-experience and channel where you're delivering the experience where the employee expects it, and where they want to and need to consume and interact with that experience. And so I hope those 3 customer examples really showcased how you can take some of those practices and why they're really important as well, right? Like it might be easy to think that you can skip some of those steps, but again, those are all learnings that we have heard from our prospects and customers and have worked with them to make sure that their digital workplace journey has been successful. So hopefully you've been able to gather some great insights from the presentation, and hope to help answer any questions. And if feel free, I've left my contact details on the screen to reach out at any time with additional questions.